Picture this. You're lost in the woods in Canada. The dense forest surrounds you, and every direction looks the same. The towering trees, with their thick canopies, block out most of the sunlight, making it hard to see very far. The air is filled with the scent of pine and the sound of rustling leaves. You can hear the distant call of a bird, but otherwise it's eerily quiet. Your heart races as you realize you have no idea which way to go. Panic starts to set in, but you know you need to stay calm and think clearly. The sun's going down and the trees make long, spooky shadows. The temperature begins to drop, and you can feel the chill in the air. The shadows stretch out like fingers, creating an almost surreal landscape. Every rustle of leaves or snap of a twig makes you jump. You know that once the sun sets completely, it will be much harder to find your way. The forest, which seemed so inviting during the day, now feels like a maze of darkness and uncertainty. It's getting cold, and you're scared. The cold seeps into your bones, and you start to shiver uncontrollably. Your breath comes out in visible puffs, and you can feel the fear tightening in your chest. You try to remember the survival tips you've heard or read about, but it's hard to think clearly when you're so frightened. You know you need to find shelter soon, or the cold could become a serious threat. Then you see it. A big pine tree. Its massive trunk stands out among the other trees, and its thick branches seem to offer some protection. The sight of it gives you a glimmer of hope. You remember hearing that pine trees can be a good source of shelter in the wild. The tree's branches are dense and spread out wide, creating a natural canopy that could shield you from the elements. Its branches look like they could keep you safe. You move closer and inspect the tree. The branches are sturdy and covered in thick needles, which could provide some insulation against the cold. You start to gather fallen branches and pine needles to create a makeshift shelter. The process is slow and your hands are numb from the cold, but you push through, knowing that this could be your best chance of staying warm and safe through the night. This happened to Emily Thompson. She got lost hiking. Emily was an experienced hiker, but even the most seasoned adventurers can find themselves in unexpected situations. She had set out on a solo hike, confident in her abilities and knowledge of the terrain. But as the day went on, she realized she had taken a wrong turn and was now deep in the forest with no clear way out. The realization hit her hard, but she knew she had to stay calm and use her skills to survive. It was getting dark and super cold, so she needed shelter fast. Emily knew that the temperature would drop rapidly once the sun set, and she needed to find a place to stay warm. She remembered the survival tips she had learned from various sources, including TV shows and books. One of the key tips was to find or create a shelter to protect against the cold and wind. She scanned the area, looking for anything that could provide some cover. She remembered a TV show about surviving and found a strong pine tree. The show had emphasized the importance of using natural resources to create a shelter. Emily spotted a large pine tree with thick, low-hanging branches. It was perfect. She quickly gathered fallen branches, pine needles, and other natural materials to build a shelter. The process was challenging, especially as the light faded, but she was determined to create a safe space for the night. Using what she had, Emily built a little shelter. She worked methodically, layering the pine needles and branches to create a barrier against the cold. The shelter was small, just big enough for her to crawl inside and curl up. It wasn't perfect, but it was better than being exposed to the elements. As she settled into her makeshift shelter, she felt a sense of accomplishment. She had used her knowledge and resourcefulness to create a safe space in the wilderness. The pine tree kept her safe and warm and gave her hope. Throughout the night, the shelter provided some protection from the cold wind. Emily could hear the sounds of the forest around her, but she felt a little more secure knowing she had a barrier between her and the elements. The pine tree's branches swayed gently in the wind, creating a soothing, rustling sound. It wasn't the most comfortable night, but it was enough to keep her safe until morning. Emily's story shows how important it is to know how to survive in the woods, and how pine trees can save you. Her experience is a reminder that nature can be both beautiful and dangerous. Being prepared and knowing how to use the resources around you can make all the difference in a survival situation. The pine tree, with its strong branches and dense needles, provided Emily with the shelter she needed to make it through the night. It's a testament to the resilience of both nature and the human spirit. Pine trees are a survivalist's best friend. They are incredibly versatile and can be found in many parts of the world, making them an essential resource for anyone looking to survive in the wild. Whether you're lost in a dense forest or just camping for the weekend, Pine trees offer a multitude of benefits that can make your experience much more comfortable and safe. They're everywhere, and they're super useful. One of the most remarkable things about pine trees is their abundance. You can find them in various climates and terrains, from the coldest mountains to more temperate regions. This widespread availability means that no matter where you are, you can likely find a pine tree nearby to help you out. Their branches have sticky sap that's like a natural raincoat and keeps you warm. The sap is not just sticky, it's also waterproof. This makes it an excellent material for sealing leaks in your shelter or even waterproofing your gear. Additionally, the sap can be used as a natural antiseptic, helping to clean wounds and prevent infections. The trunks are strong and straight, perfect for building. Pine tree trunks are known for their durability and straightness, making them ideal for constructing shelters, tools, and even makeshift furniture. You can easily cut and shape the wood to suit your needs, whether you're building a simple lean-to or a more complex log cabin. You can use the branches to make a roof and walls, and even a comfy bed. The branches are flexible yet sturdy, allowing you to weave them together to create a solid structure. This can provide you with a reliable shelter that protects you from the elements. Plus, the natural cushioning of the branches makes for a surprisingly comfortable bed. And don't forget the pine needles. Pine needles are often overlooked, but they are incredibly useful. They can be used as kindling to start a fire, as insulation to keep you warm, and even as a natural air freshener for your shelter. They make great insulation and a nice-smelling bed. Pine needles are excellent for insulating your shelter, helping to keep the cold out and the warmth in. They also have a pleasant, natural scent that can make your shelter feel more like home. When used as bedding, they provide a soft, cushioned surface that can help you get a good night's sleep. They're also easy to light on fire, even when wet, so you can stay warm and cook food. Pine needles are highly flammable, making them an excellent fire-starting material. Even if they are damp, they can still catch fire relatively easily, ensuring that you can always have a source of warmth and a way to cook your food. In a survival situation, this can be a lifesaver. Not all pine trees are the same. You want one with a thick trunk and strong branches that can hold up your shelter even in strong winds. Look for lots of branches to keep you covered. Don't pick a tree that looks sick or dead because it might fall down. Check around the tree for dangerous stuff like dead branches or loose branches hanging down. Pick a spot that's naturally protected. A lean-to is the simplest survival shelter, and a pine tree is perfect for it. Find 2 trees about 6 to 8 feet apart, or a strong branch and a tree trunk. This will hold up your roof pole. Put the pole on top of the supports and tie it tight with rope or vines. Then, lean branches against the pole at an angle to make a slanted roof. Cover the roof with more branches, like shingles, so the rain runs off. Knowing some basic knots is super important. In any survival situation, the ability to secure your shelter can make a significant difference in your comfort and safety. Whether you're out in the wilderness or preparing for an emergency at home, mastering a few essential knots can be a game changer. For a strong shelter, the square lashing is a particularly useful knot. This knot is ideal for binding poles together to create a sturdy framework for your shelter. It's a fundamental skill for anyone interested in bushcraft or survival techniques. To tie a square lashing, start by placing the 2 poles in the desired position. Then, take your rope and wrap it around both poles a few times, ensuring each wrap is nice and tight. This initial wrapping is crucial as it forms the foundation of the knot. Next, make a loop with the rope and wrap it around the other wraps a few times, pulling it tight each time. This step is known as frapping, and it helps to cinch the wraps together, increasing the overall strength and stability of the lashing. After frapping, you'll need to secure the end of the rope. To do this, put the end of the rope through the loop you created earlier and pull it tight. This final step locks the knot in place, ensuring that your lashing won't come undone easily. The square lashing is now complete. This knot is incredibly versatile and can be used in various situations, from building a simple lean-to shelter to constructing more complex structures like a tripod or a raft. Practice these knots at home regularly. The more you practice, the more proficient you'll become, and the faster you'll be able to tie them when you need to. Being able to tie these knots quickly and efficiently can be a lifesaver in an emergency. So take the time to learn and practice them, and you'll be well prepared to secure your haven no matter where you are. A lean-to will keep you safe, but you can make it even better. Put a thick layer of pine needles inside for a warm, comfy bed. Build a wall opposite the entrance with logs or rocks. This will reflect the heat from your fire back at you, keeping you warmer. If you can, make a door with extra branches or a tarp to keep out the wind. Once you're good at building a lean-to, you can try harder shelters. The A-frame shelter looks like the letter A and gives you more space. Platform shelters are built off the ground, so they're better at keeping you dry and away from bugs. These shelters take more time and stuff to build, but they're more comfy if you have to stay for a while. A pine tree is great for a shelter, but some tools can make it easier. A strong knife is important for cutting branches and making a fire. A tarp or plastic sheet can make your shelter waterproof, and strong rope is good for tying things together. A fire starter is key for making a fire to keep you warm, cook food, and signal for help. Building a shelter is a really important survival skill, and pine trees are a great resource. Remember, practice makes perfect. Try building different kinds of shelters at home before you go into the woods. Learn how to tie good knots, and always be safe when using tools. If you learn these skills, you'll be ready for anything in the wilderness.